My name is Jordi Ribas, and I am a director in the Windows Digital Media Division at Microsoft. I have been working on HDVD for over 4 years now. I was maybe one of the first, if not the first person in Microsoft working on this topic, and I've been responsible for the technology strategy and a lot of the internal management on the project. So what are we going to talk about? First, we'll try to address a bit why do we care about HDVD? Why is this going to be important, or why do we think it's going to be important? We'll talk a little bit about the technology, the architecture, and then we'll explain a little bit better the initiative that we launched as of yesterday, if you saw the press release, which we call the HDVD Experience Initiative for Windows Vista. So let's get started. And this is an important question because a lot of people ask, okay, why do we care about next generation DVD? No, a lot of you probably are very happy with your current selection of DVDs and are saying, do we need anything else? Is this yet another new technology that the industry is trying to sort of push on the consumer, or is there really a need and a genuine desire from the consumer to have something better than DVD? And we believe there is, and there are several trends that suggest it in a relatively clear way. One is that there is a lot of appetite for high-definition content, and you've probably seen a lot of graphs like this. This red line represents the number of households in the United States, in millions, that have high-definition TVs today, and the bars represent those that are getting any type of high-definition server, whether it's on the digital cable side or the satellite side. And as you can see, the red line is growing a lot, meaning a lot of people are buying high-definition TVs. And second, there is this gap between the bars and the line that's basically representing a lot of households that have these TVs but still are not getting definition content. There's an opportunity to actually take advantage of this gap and produce high-definition content that can be consumed. So what are all the factors? Obviously, we just talked about HDTV sales growing. Then broadband, as you know, it's also growing a lot. Then entertainment is becoming more and more interactive, even on cell phones, video games, a lot of the next generation TV offerings from the different satellite cable companies. Everything is being more and more interactive, and you are still stuck with the clunky old interactivity from DVD. And then at the same time, the DVD retail market is declining, so the studios are very motivated to try to produce better content and better quality to try to grow this market. So you put all of these things together and wonder, well, what type of product can we define that will not only take advantage of all these trends, but also will capitalize on these opportunities? And one of the solutions is HDDVD, which at a high level is just the next generation optical media disc for movies. And by the way, this talk focuses about ROM, basically about the movie version of HDDVD. And it's not only going to be a product that will have high definition, better quality video, but it's also going to have much more advanced interactivity as well as internet connectivity, so that all those opportunities that we mentioned before are actually going to be captured or embraced by the product. And so what is it, if we go a little bit more in detail? Well, the first difference that probably is the first one that everybody writes about is that rather than using red laser to read this disc, you are using blue laser. And this is because the little bits that are in the disc, in a DVD disc, are actually so small now that you need a more accurate laser to be able to read them effectively. And so with that, you can basically use the same type of structure and process to create DVDs with some modifications, and then you can get the capacity in a dual layer disk of 30 gigabytes as opposed to 9 gigabytes, which is what you get today. But I think more importantly is once you've got all this capacity, you now have the ability to put a lot of stuff in the disk. And the first thing that I am very excited about is the fact that we can do real, true high-definition video. And I have been working on high definition for a while, but I've been working on the general area of video compression and video quality for over 15 years now. And I remember that when we started, that was at the time that MPEG-2 didn't even exist. It was starting to be a standard. We were dreaming of the day that we would have high definition of visually lossless quality. And it's here, no? And I think now we are starting to see HDTV, be a satellite, be a digital cable, and so on. And probably it still hasn't hit us until you actually, or we actually have a chance to see what these discs can do. But the type of quality that you get with these discs is unparalleled. It's basically the same that you would get when you are looking at the master D5, if you are familiar with what that is. The D5 master and this disc is basically extremely close. No, the goal of the studios is to provide a visually lossless experience from what's a D5 flawless high definition experience. So that's super exciting. And it's not just about the video, but also the audio. No, it's lossless audio up to 7.1 channels. This is as good or better than a lot of theaters that here in the United States that you may go to watch a movie, and so you can get extraordinarily sound at home. And then we'll talk a lot about interactivity, but again, this is another of these big steps where you're going to see a lot of things that you can do that you couldn't do before. Now with DVD, you have these clunky menus that you have to leave the movie, go back to the menus, then go back to the movie, and now here you'll have menus that go along with the movie, and you can jump anywhere you like at any time. And finally, with HDVD, you will also have the ability to do much more with your content. And we'll talk about AACS and content protection, and the ability to do managed copy, and a lot of other things that you couldn't do before. And we'll go into that on detail. I don't know how to say this in a nice way, but we've spent, I think, too much energy fighting on the press and fighting, in front of panels in terms of, okay, what's better? Is it HD-DVD? Is it Blu-ray? Is it all these other formats that are in Asia? And a lot has been written about that, and I think maybe unfortunately a lot will be written in the future because everybody likes a good format battle to some extent, right? But at least in this presentation, I'm trying to go beyond that a little bit and just try to focus on what's positive of HD-DVD and not so much look at what might be negative or might not be as good on other formats. We'll say a little bit of that, but I think that the good news is that a lot of what's been said were promises, a lot of what's been said were speculations, and finally the product is here and people can just buy it and can decide on their own. And then later on, some other formats like Blu-ray are going to launch, and then consumers will be able to look at it and actually make an informed choice of what's the better format. And so we are very excited about what HDVD can provide in terms of capacity. As of now, it's the format that provides the highest capacity for movies. And there is a lot of talk about triple layer HDVDs that produce 45 gigabyte discs. There is a lot of talk of dual layer, 50 gigabyte discs for Blu-ray. Well, that's very interesting, but it's talk, it's not reality, at least not yet. Can it happen? Maybe. No, the thing that is sure that you can talk to any replicator today that's creating HDVD discs is that the 30 gigabyte discs are very easy to produce. The yields are over 95%, very close to the DVD yields. The cost is very similar. long-term in terms of what the DVD discs are costing today. It's following a very similar curve. Yields for Blu-ray 25, we're hearing, are very low, but anyway, time will tell whether those yields would get higher. But what it is clear is that in terms of cost, there is a special magic on HDVD, which is you can just use today's DVD lines, do some relatively minor modifications, and you can actually increase the capacity by 3. And a lot of people say, well, you know, that's DVD technology. Well, I think if you are an engineer, you know how hard it is to get 3 times better doing small things, right? And so it's in that sense very revolutionary that we can, for very limited cost, provide all this additional capacity that can bring the 6 times resolution higher than DVD video on the screen. Then other aspects of HDVD that we like a lot are the twin discs, which these are discs that will play not only on your HDVD player, but they'll also play on your old DVD players. And already in Japan, there are several twin discs that have been launched in the market. Warner Brothers just this week here in the United States released 1 twin disc. What's probably going to happen, and what Warner Brothers and Universal have publicly said, is that for all the catalog titles, they'll have regular HDVD discs that will play on HDVD players, and that's because they assume that you already have the DVD, but that for new releases, they will issue these twin discs so that you'll be able to play the disc not only on the future HDVD player that you may buy or you may have, but you will also be able to play it on all the DVDs that you have in the home or in the car. Interactivity is another aspect that we're very excited about. There are several parts of it that are mandated in HDVD, and they are optional in other formats. So again, only in HDVD you'll be able to ensure some specific experiences like picture-in-picture, bookmarks, networking like web downloads, and so on. And then copy protection, that's yet another interesting topic. I think copy protection is necessary, and we as a technology company want to make it as friendly to the consumer as possible. And we've spent a lot of time negotiating in AACS. We'll talk a little bit about this, and I think we finally got the right balance, meaning we provided better copy protection, which is what the studios wanted, but we also incorporated some flexibility that allows legal copying of the disc to hard drives, streaming of the content throughout the home. Optionally, there will also be the capability of copying the movies onto portable devices so that you can take the movies with you and so on. A lot of the scenarios that were not possible with regular DVDs will be possible today. Now, in the case of Blu-ray, they chose to use AACS and add yet another copy protection layer on top of it. We felt, and that was one of the reasons that Intel and Microsoft supported HDVD. We felt that that was too much copy protection, that was not really adding that much value. And as a manufacturer, you have to now go to 2 key generation facility offices and get 2 sets of keys. You've got 2 sets of technologies to implement, and it creates a lot of difficulties. But regardless of our opinion, AACS and the DVD Forum openly evaluated this additional copy protection layer and overwhelmingly rejected it. So I think we're not alone there. And again, I think HDVD got it right and was able to come up with the copy protection that has the right balance. Putting that aside, let's just see what people are saying, and there is a lot of different opinions out there, but I think we can say that overall the format has got very good reviews. I think people are talking a lot about the quality. People are saying regardless of what happened in this format battle, that's this final quote from Sound and Vision magazine, one of the top AV magazines in the US, saying that this format is a giant success in terms of all the features that's providing to the consumers. And so, again, we're excited about it, and we hope that you'll be, if you are not already, if you haven't already bought the discs and the players. So in terms of industry support, there is a ton of it, and that wasn't the case. Frankly, about 6-7 months ago, for a while, HDBD wasn't doing so well. The politics were very strong, but I think that little by little, as time went on, the momentum is changing. A lot of companies are looking at this and are saying, wow, this is a good product. This is something that consumers are going to enjoy. And especially in the PC space, we've got a lot of companies in the HDD promotion group, in addition to NEC, Toshiba, Intel, Microsoft. Acer is also in the HDD promotion group, so it's Fujitsu, Lenovo Japan, and there are a bunch of others. So I think in the PC space, which is what we're focusing on today, there is definitely going to be a lot of support. In terms of titles, there is going to be also a lot of titles already. You can actually buy those today. And by the end of the year, there are about 200 HDD titles planned from all these studios. Some of them are exclusively now publishing in HDBD. Some of them are publishing in both HDBD, Blu-ray, and maybe others in the future, other formats. But the bottom line is that the quality of the titles for HDBD is going to be very good. And these are a sample of them. Most of this you can buy today. Some of them, I think all of this you can buy today. So, yeah, because Born Supremacy just came out. So you can buy all of this today. There are more that you can buy today. And if you look at what's planned between now and the end of the year, you've got a ton of classic titles. Many of them, like I think we counted just for fun, 56 Academy Awards in terms of all the titles that are going to be shipping. And yes, for those that are wondering, since Warner Brothers is supporting HDBD, Harry Potter is going to be there. And no, Harry Potter is not my brother. Please don't ask me the question again. So, anyway. So now, jokes aside, let's go and look a little bit into the architecture. And we don't have too much time to go into the details, but we did want to give you a sense for what's in HDBD. And already we talked about the capacity at launch and what's the capacity of these disks for ROM. And we also talked about the differences between the red laser used for DVD and the blue laser used for HDBD. Basically, the wavelength is shorter for HDBD. That's in the blue laser range. Then numerical aperture, meaning the optics for the optical lens, are actually very close, which is why drives are relatively simple to make, because a lot of the technology for building the drives is essentially the same, except for the actual electronic components, but that typically doesn't add too much to the cost of the drives. And then the way the HDBD is formed is very similar to the way a DVD is formed. You've got two substrates of 0.6 millimeters that you bond, and then the transfer rate, similarly to the capacity, is about 3 times more than that of DVD. And so, in terms of what technology is being used in HDBD, one of the technologies that we're quite excited about is the interactivity technology. And I do remember the first meeting we had in Microsoft about IHD, and we said, well, we need something that's light, that's easy to implement, not only in PCs, but also in hardware devices, that's very rich, so that you can do a lot of stuff with it, and that's interoperable, so that it's very easy for everybody to build it and make sure that it can work well together. And there was this one engineer that came up and said, well, you guys are nuts. You don't know what the heck you are talking about. Typical strategy guy. And maybe that was true, but regardless, that was the thing that we really wanted to accomplish. And we know it was a big technical challenge. And obviously, it's all about balance and trying to find how can we design technology that can accomplish this in the best possible way. But I think we got there. And the way we did it is we looked at some technology that's simple and easy to use, that the industry is already familiar with, and we tried to put it together for the specific application of optical media. So we didn't really pick up other technologies that were existing and trying to adapt it, but we said, okay, how can we pick pieces of technologies and create something special? And you can read through it, but basically we used a subset of XML for markup, CSS for the style. We use a Smile for timing and synchronization, a subset of ECMAScript for actually scripting and providing some functionality for games, and so on. And one of the benefits, in addition of accomplishing the balance that we were talking before, is that the technology is easy to use, so you don't require programmers like you may require for BDJ or some other type of technologies. And pretty much everybody can implement IHD. And if you don't believe me, there is a Jumpstart package that we've put together, and we have a link at the end, so you can download it and you can start playing with IHD and start understanding it and seeing how it works. And so what more specifically is it that IHD can accomplish? And again, I'll emphasize this because we're very proud of it. By making it as simple as we could, we were able to mandate technology that other formats won't be able to mandate. So you'll have animated menus, you have picture-in-picture in every single player that's mandated. You'll be able to do bookmarks and progress bar, a bunch of stuff that you won't be able to do with other formats. And then web downloads, you'll be able to update the latest trailers, new soundtracks, do audio streaming events, a lot of the events that you can do today, with some constraints, but a lot of the stuff you can do today on the web, you'll be able to do as well with your DVD, HD DVD players. And even games, and a lot of things that we probably don't even envision today, no, because the technology is there, and then Hollywood is now being creative and is now coming up with features in the scenarios that we didn't even think of. AACS, I think you probably know what this is the new content protection. I spoke about it a little bit earlier, and it's actually copy protection adopted by both HD and Blu-ray. As I explained earlier, Blu-ray also adopted, in addition to AACS, an extra copy protection layer called BD+, that we don't know, so we're going to only talk about AACS today. And so, as I explained earlier, we worked very hard for, I think it's been over 2 years now, negotiating with other founders which represent the different industry sectors. We've got the studios like Disney, Warner Brothers, Sony, which represents both the C as well as the studio side. Then we've got Toshiba, IBM, Intel, and Microsoft. And we've tried to, again, reach that balance. And as I mentioned earlier, we have accomplished to get to a point now where we feel like we will be able to enable some of those scenarios that we talked about, like legally copying, network streaming. On the interim license of HD-DVD, some of those scenarios are not enabled yet. That's because we wanted to get product to market as soon as possible and didn't want to delay the product. And frankly, the negotiations take time, but they are doing good progress. And I think that the best way to learn AACS, though, is for you to go to the website and download the specs and the agreements, and you'll be able to learn all of it. No? And I only want to give you a little bit of a taste of what's in AACS. So it's a state-of-the-art encryption, AES, with 128 bits, and it also uses a bidirectional drive authentication protocol. And a lot of people ask, why is that? And originally that was actually not in AACS, no, because conceptually you think, okay, well, the player will tell the drive whether it can play this disk or not, given whether the certificates are in place and whether everything is in place, right? But one of the benefits of having it bidirectional is that the disk actually can update the player. And so when you're thinking about revocation list or stuff like that, there are a lot of things that can be done that the studios wanted, and we found a way to make that happen. And in terms of what the options are, at a very high level, you can build a player with what's called enhanced robustness or super robustness. What that means is that you gotta hide the keys in hardware somehow, and that's typically going to be used in hardware players, meaning that the software cannot directly access those keys that you're hiding. Or you can do proactive renewal, meaning that the device key set must be renewed at least on an 18-month schedule, and that basically is going to be used more likely by software players, although the spec doesn't specify whether you got to use super robustness or super renewability on a given type of player. You just got to choose either of them. In terms of quality, we wanted to talk a little bit about VC1. There are 3 video codecs that are mandatory in all the HDD players so that content providers will have a choice. And you'll say, well, why do you talk about VC1 and not about the others? Well, it's because we developed it, and we like to talk about our stuff. And it's like talking about your children, right? You tend to like to do that. But frankly, it's also because it's being widely used today on HDD. And as of now, the quality is very good. Obviously, H.264 is going to be getting better. VC1 is going to be getting better. And that's all going to be goodness for the studios and the consumers. But again, as of now, VC1 is really reaching a very good balance in terms of providing good quality. We have very good tools. So for those of you that are in the authoring ISV community, I know we've been talking to you, and we're excited to be able to work more with you to make sure you have the best possible VC1 implementation. The format is getting excellent reviews, and I think that this goes across the board. There was somebody, I think in the LA Times, that I think that's the only bad review that I've seen, but he didn't connect the player in the right way or to the right displays. Anyway, so there is some stuff that you need to know. So if you're not an AV enthusiast, it takes a little bit of time, but folks at Best Buy, Crutchfield, or in other retailers actually explain to you what's the right display that you need, how do you connect the HDD player, and so please pay attention to that, otherwise you may not get the actual best results. But looking at what other people are saying, if you are familiar with widescreen review, they actually started reviewing those discs, and they are giving very high ratings, especially on the video quality. Like a lot of the discs are getting a rating of 5 out of 5, which we had rarely ever seen before, from Widescreen Review magazine. And so it's really very good quality, and it's really a very good consumer experience. But we're here to talk about Vista, Windows Vista. So let me tell you a little bit of what's happening on HDD and Windows Vista and the PC in general. So in terms of HDD player solutions, there is an enormous interest from the industry into creating players for HDD, especially now that the content is there, the drives are coming up. This is a good product for the higher-end PCs. It's going to be a nice differentiating feature. And so you've got players already announced or shipping from these manufacturers that actually are starting to play these disks. Then in terms of what we, Microsoft, have done, we've put a lot of effort to build what we call native infrastructure in Windows Vista to be able to build components that the ISVs can use, and so that they can save a lot of effort when they build their players. And so I think Dave Walp yesterday talked to you about the MMC5 and driver command work for ACS that they built, as well as UDF 2.5. That's a lot of the basic infrastructure that you need to read the actual content from the disk. But in addition to that, with the HDD specs in hand, we've actually built all these other components that can be used by ISVs to facilitate the playback of HDD. And they have to do some of the work, but definitely we've put together a lot of the infrastructure that's necessary for them to be able to ensure a very good high-quality experience for Windows Vista. But to go beyond that, what we've been doing, we've been talking to a lot of you, both from the ISV side as well as the PC OEM side, and we've been asking you, okay, what is it that we could do that's even better than that to help you build great HDD players in Vista? And for the last, it's been a year, we've been working side by side with the studios in Hollywood. Kevin is every week down in LA working with all the studios and making sure that they know how to implement IHD, they know how to encode with VC1, and we've been working with Toshiba, helping them ship that player. Some of the IHD code there was built by us, so we've been very, very focused on the launch to make sure that everything would work and that we would have a good format experience. And so now it's time to grow that, and that's where this comes from. And we've heard you. We're going to pick up some of our engineers. We're going to ask them to work full-time to help everybody working on HDD playback on Windows Vista to make sure that the user experience is as good as possible. To be a little bit more concrete, in terms of all those components that we mentioned in the previous slide, we're actually going to have best practices documents to explain if you are building an HDD player, how should you take advantage of those components. On IHD, we're going to go farther than that. We're going to build what we'll call an interoperability lab to make sure that the IHD implementation is compatible, is as good as possible. We're going to provide training, and we're going to facilitate compliance. Certification is done by the VPC in the DVD forum, but that's mainly a certification effort. You don't have engineers teaching you and training you how to actually build the technology, and so that's what we're going to do. And then on VC1, we are shipping a VC1 implementation in Vista, but we're going to do better than that. We're going to keep improving the implementation. In Windows Vista, we are already at a point that there are things we cannot do because the bar for making changes is higher and higher. So, but what we are trying to do separately is we'll have a mini SDK. So for those of you that will be shipping players later, you might be able to take advantage of a higher performance, faster VC1 implementation. So looking at all of this, we want to make sure that you have additional resources and ways to follow up. So this is a slide for you to take a look at later on, where we've got a distribution list where you can ask questions on how to join the HDBD Experience Initiative. We have more generic websites if you are more interested about the consumer side of HDBD, as well as on the authoring side. That second authoring site over there under Microsoft websites is where you can actually download the interactivity Jumpstart package. And then there are other sites here for your information in case you want to learn more about HDBD. So let me summarize this at a very high level. All the key pieces are in place, both in terms of the technology, the products, as well as the consumer interest on high definition and more interactive next generation DVDs. And so the launch is here. Things are happening, and we believe, and we hope you'll agree, after you test it at home, that HDBD will provide a very significant consumer value. And then in terms of what Microsoft is doing next, we want to make sure we don't only finalize all the infrastructure that we're building in Windows Vista for HDBD playback, but we also want to make sure that we help all the ISVs to make sure that their products are as good as possible as well.